So today I want to talk about a key opportunity just for home buyers. So if you've been in the market to buy a house and you have been sitting on the sidelines, stay tuned because you don't want to miss this. And we're starting right now. Welcome back, y'all. This is Debbie Dobbins. I'm your host for this episode of Your Wichita Falls. If you watch this channel at all, you know I do real estate, mortgages, investing. I've got a nonprofit. Oh my gosh, I go on and on and on. And then I have a YouTube channel, so I don't think I sleep very much. But regardless, I want to talk today about a key opportunity for home buyers. Because at the end of the day, home buyers and sellers have different opportunities. And it has been, oh my goodness, a seller's market for the last 2 years. Oh, I mean, if you look up in the dictionary under seller's market, these last 2 years have been the walking definition of that. So there's no denying that the housing market has delivered a fair share of challenges to home buyers over these past 2 years. Oh my gosh, if you are a home buyer, you know this. If you've been making offers, you know this. If you bought a home, you know this. Because two of the biggest hurdles that home buyers have faced during this pandemic, post-pandemic, after the pandemic, before the pandemic, you know, we use the pandemic kind of a touchstone of what's actually happened, and that isn't what caused it, and there's plenty of videos on this channel to explain that. But the biggest thing that's happened during that period was the limited number of homes for sale. We've called that a shortage of inventory. You may have heard that term. I've used it plenty of times. But that has absolutely just caused so much havoc for a home buyer. And then the other thing that home buyers have felt is the intensity and frequency of bidding wars. And if you've been part of one of those, you know how painful that is. It's so painful, and I know because I take it on the chin myself when I can't get a house for a buyer that's absolutely in love and they think that's their dream home. But I do say one thing to every buyer, and have said this for the last 30 years. If you don't get that one, then that's not your house, because the bigger, better, or happier house is on the way. And at the same time, it hurts like you know what when you think it's your dream house and you get outbid. But those two things, those two things of shortage of inventory and this crazy bidding war and too many people bidding have reached a turning point. Y'all say. I did a video probably 2 weeks ago about where we are with the market returning to normal. And that's really just what's happening, is that the market is returning to normal. In a normal market, we don't have people clamoring 50 at a time to buy one house. That is nutty. But the fact is that we have reached this turning point, and so it's good news for buyers. If you listen to the news, which I don't, but I pay attention to stats, there is, or you might have heard, the number of homes for sale has increased this year. So that's really good news for a buyer, because it starts to turn that needle to not a seller's market. If we just got it in the middle, that would be awesome. But the number of houses for sale has increased this year, and even more so in this springtime. So what happens is when you, and I've said this over and over, it's supply and demand. When you have a higher supply or an oversupply and you have an under demand or a similar demand, then you don't have the craziness that we have. The economist for Realtor.com explains, Realtor.com weighs in a lot, and I do use their quotes primarily because they collect a lot of data, they have great algorithms, and they have a lot of statistics about what's happening right now on the ground. So just because you don't know about it yet, the compilation of those numbers starts to explain how things are going to go forward. They are a lagging indicator, but they are a leading indicator of what's about to happen. The head economist of Realtor.com says these new listings, this measure of sellers putting their homes up for sale, were up 6% above 1 year ago. Woo-hoo! Hallelujah! home sellers in many markets across the country continue to benefit from rising home prices and fast-selling homes. So the sellers are still able to sell their homes for a high amount, but it's just not this craziness that's going on. She says that's prompted a growing number of homeowners to sell their homes this year compared to last, because the sellers were on the sidelines too. Trust me. Like, do I wait? Do I sell now? Do I wait? Is it time? Is it time? Well, a lot of them have figured out they should probably do it now rather than later, or there's not as much fear around it. So they gave home shoppers much needed options. Oh my goodness. Thank you. This is encouraging news. I'm so excited because more homes coming onto the market give you a greater chance of finding that one house that checks all of your boxes. How cool is that? Instead of having to settle for that house that just checks maybe one, maybe two boxes, you start to get 4 or 5 or 10 now. And then the buyer competition helps the inventory grow even more, because the inventory growth is happening not just because there's an increase in the number of listings coming onto the market, but also because the buyer demand has moderated some, and some buyers have just taken themselves out of the market, so they basically have stopped looking. They felt like the prices were getting too high, or they were afraid, or they were exasperated from not getting their offers taken, and then what comes in? Higher interest rates. So there's a lot of people that have stepped out as buyers, so therefore there's not as many buyers to make those offers, and you have a higher inventory. So actually, this is good news for buyers. It's actually fabulous news for buyers. There's some economic factors that have also impacted this, and there's been a pickup in this inventory because of all these factors that I've just shared, but it's not a big increase. It's not a big one. So we're not having a bubble, we're not having a crash, we're just having this uptick. In other words, we're having a normalization of the market of where it would be in a normal time. But here's the thing. So rather than have a slowdown in the pace of sales, that's what people are thinking. Oh, we have this inventory now and there's going to be a slowdown of sales. But that's not true, because people still want to buy houses. So basically, the market is shifting away from the frenzy of this buyer competition, which if you've been in the frenzy, thank goodness, we'd like to see less of that. But the frenzy of this buyer competition that's been seen for the past 2 years is helping available inventory grow. In their latest forecast in Realtor.com, they mention the moderation of demand as a key factor and projects inventory growth should continue. So the more the inventory grows, the more likely that you have an opportunity to buy a house without all of the craziness going on. And as I said, check those boxes that you really want in a dream house. So this rising inflation and mortgage rates bring the U.S. housing demand back from the 2021 frenzy, which is fantastic. Inventory is going to continue to grow in double digits over 2021's numbers and offer buyers a better than expected chance. Did you hear that? A better than expected chance to find a home, to find your dream home. So how this impacts you? Well, the combination of more homes coming onto the market and a slower pace of home sales means you'll have more options to choose from as you search for your next home. And that, my friends, is fabulous, fabulous news, because it's not going to be a crash. It's just a correction. It's just a moderation, but it's such great news, especially if you've been searching for a home for a while with just no luck, because it's hard. It's been hard. And so I want you to remember, there isn't a sudden surplus of inventory. There's just not. But more homes to choose from than even a month ago, which is so beautiful, because I love showing people multiple houses so that they can choose which one they want, rather than, oh my God, this is the only one that you're gonna like, and you better bid on it now, and you better overbid on the asking price. That's not fun for anybody. You'll still want to be decisive and move fast, so don't misunderstand me that you don't want to sit there and lag or lollygag. But when you find the right home for you, and when you do, you're going to be faced with less competition, which is the good news, because other buyers can now see multiple houses as well. And maybe you love this house and those other 3 buyers love the other 3 houses. And the good news for a seller is they're not going to lose out money because everybody wants these houses. You've been waiting to jump into the market, waiting and waiting and waiting, because the intensity of this bidding war was crazy and intimidating. And if you've been outbid on several houses, oh my gosh, you have PTSD, you have shell shock. And now I want you to know it's starting to open up. The breathing room is going to be there. This moderation can help make your dreams come true. Make that home buying process so much easier and smoother. It's not that it's going to be super simple, because those bidding wars are a thing of the past. Not necessarily, but that's not the case. It really is nearly impossible to not have bidding wars if it's just a fabulous house. I can attest to that. I don't care what market you're in. But the fact is that the houses that people generally love and want are not going to have 14 people lined up on the first day to make an offer. So what's the bottom line here? As this housing market begins its shift back towards normal, which is pre-pandemic, that was normal. As they get back to these normal levels, you can have a unique opportunity just for you with these moderating levels of being a buyer and actively looking for that dream house. Because you may have thought you had to get a little less before and it was challenging. But what now is those dream homes are going to become more frequent. And so if you want to know a little bit more about what's available, what's coming up, and what's happening to the market, please feel free to schedule a Zoom call with me in the first comments below, and I'll share anything and everything that I possibly can with you. And I always say, y'all come back now, you hear? Bye-bye.